All right. So my name is Geri, and my website is godislovetruthfreedom.com. And today I am here with my esteemed guest, Dr. Dustin Plattner. And Dr. Dustin Plattner is an anarchist and esoteric researcher and presenter on natural law and objective morality. He abhors slavery in all forms, overt and covert, and uses his care to help others move themselves out of slavery. Moreover, he is an advocate for a resource-based economy and teaches how Bitcoin will be the bridge to get us there, as all money is mind control. Dr. Plattner does light coding work and heavy system admin work on Linux systems and created the computer movement sovereignsystems.com, SOVRAN. Dr. Plattner holds a master's and doctoral degree in clinical psychology and runs a full-time practice working with children and families in Southern California as a private membership association. Welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you, Geri. This is great. I'm really excited to be here, and I think it'll be a great conversation. So yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yay. So yeah, we connected through Mark Passio's How to Be the True Media course. How did you get into natural law, objective morality type work and interest?
Yeah, good question. Well, I think for a lot of us, it's a journey from, I think, one stage to the next stage to the next stage, right? And I think for me, I was always into a sense of not really trusting authority in some regard and really wanting to think through things before I stepped into them. That's why in my undergrad, I got a degree in Bible and theology, because I really wanted to know the philosophy and the theology of how things work. And so I guess I was always a thinker. So then eventually, after realizing that tower number 7 fell on 9/11, there was 3 towers that fell, realizing then, oh, wow, there's a lot here that I was not aware of. And then slowly, then I sort of moved into a libertarian sort of mindset and political philosophy, not politics, but political philosophy, libertarianism. So that held me for a while, and then realizing how government is even more encroaching, and then realizing there's this sort of anarchist position, and so I kind of moved into anarcho capitalist, the hyphenated anarchy. So I was that for a while, and that was nice. I mean, it was just great. Yeah, we need capitalism, we need money, and government. No, that's not. Let's just get them out. Let's just be all voluntary and peaceful, right? But then COVIDs happened. Yeah, I call it COVIDs because even using the other term is just, it's casting a spell. I don't like doing that. So
yes.
AIDS is not real. I mean,
Right.
the disease is the disease, but how the mainstream way and how it was created is not true, right? The cause, right? So same with so the whole span of all viruses. If you look at the research, germ theory has so many holes in it, and as I and then so going back, so everything that is positioned as a virus, you have to be very careful in hearing that, and you have to really look at the research, is what I'm telling you. So
Sure.
So in that, when COVIDs came to my door, because it was such a hammer, I didn't know the government could reach that strongly into people's lives. I did not realize it. And then I didn't realize basically the dangerous position that I was in when there's a government around me, right? So in that process, I started like doing some more research and like, okay, what's going on here? What's happening here? And then I was in a forum with some folks, some freedom folks, and someone mentioned Passio's work. And so I looked in, so I was like, okay, that's interesting. So I looked into it. I watched it a few times. I think I watched some of his sort of episodes in the middle. First one I was getting because I didn't really know what was really happening with his work. So I watched some of the episodes. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then I started watching The Natural Law, his seminar in 2013, that 9-hour seminar. I started watching that. I was like, okay, yes. So I continued to watch it. And then it was just like, bam, it just so hit me on what he was saying. It was such a Kundalini awakening for me. And then hearing it more and then watching it again. And then it just was so nurturing to what I needed to hear. And then moving into fake ass Christians and moving into that. And that was so nurturing in what I wanted to hear. It just fits so well with a good philosophy. And then also an understanding. I didn't have any idea about the esoteric world, what that was about, esoteric versus exoteric. I had no idea of that world, right?
Same.
And so he so he opened up that whole door to me. And so then I continued on researching more of what he was saying, trying to get some of he referenced some early books in his early podcasts and started reading some of those books, like the Kabbalion was one of them, moving into that space. And I'm still reading that book today. It's just so thick. So even as it's so small, it's so important, right? And then just started getting more into his stuff, and then started at podcast number 1, and I've worked my way through everything. So that's what has gotten me into that process. And from there, then, that changed me, my whole position on government, on my own responsibility, trying to really process and think through things before they're given to me, and then really and then trying to help other people if they have questions. I say, well, here's what I've learned. Here's some material for you to learn, right? So that's sort of how I got into that whole process with Passio's work.
Nice. Going back to what you were saying earlier about germ theory, I also remember during that time, because I was very brainwashed when I was in undergrad and was pre-med and studied the immune system. And I just remember being like, but that doesn't make sense. Like the things that they were talking about, like if you're exposed to a virus that should confer immunity, and to be told to then it just didn't. So that was like,
exactly, 100%. And sometimes if we just slow down and think a little bit, we're going to come up with a lot of questions, and that's okay. And some questions may involve more digging, but some questions answers might come more easily. Another good work is Dr. Sam Bailey's work, and her husband, Mark Bailey. She was instrumental in her work in uncovering the deception that's germ theory. And before I got into her work, because in my doctoral work, I learned how to be a good consumer of research and how to read research papers. It's really a skill. And the different parts of how a research paper is set up, the different design methods, and then different basic statistical systems that are used to put the data together and to come to some conclusion. And so the papers, I have some early papers that came out about COVIDs and how that happened, some of the early research, and I pulled and I tried to download as much as I could. Some I didn't get to download, and I went back and they were gone. They were scrubbed from the internet, which is fascinating. So but anyways, reading through the research, and if you know how to read research well, you can really see how they just a few things are off, which invalidates their conclusion, or they make these big assumptions that have nothing to do with actually how the method was set up, or how the preliminary steps were used, or even the statistical methods, or even the, the true scientific method. If you can get like a placebo and then randomized sampling, and then find what the correlational causes are. Correlational, now I didn't mean to say causes, but correlations are versus
Sure.
what's causative. This is a
Right.
huge difference. And if
Right.
one can sit down and think through this and read this. So I was reading those papers that were coming out, and then I discovered Dr. Bailey's work and what she was saying, and she was confirming what I was finding in the research. And now they went fully into it, because Mark Bailey went into more of a research process to look through all the paperwork. And so I have another video coming out, Are You a Criminal Part 3, and
Yay.
I talk more about that in my video that's going to come out. So yeah, but
Great.
I was adding that into what you were saying, so hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And talking about your work, I've watched your lectures that you have on your website, and I think it's great that you're already, doing the great work, and what for people sort of in their process of understanding. Well, let's maybe talk about like what objective morality is, and then like what brought you to the point where like, shit, I need to like talk about this publicly, like, because like what got you past that threshold?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. Well, I guess two things come to my mind. One thing is first learning philosophy will save us. Yeesh. Passio has said that. Philosophy, good thinking will save us, right?
Yeah.
Of course, it starts in the mind, then the heart, and the action, but it's got to start in the mind first. And so
Yes.
once one can come to the proper conclusion of what morality is, it can be fully known. You can come to the conclusion, and then you can fully know it. There are a lot of things in this world in terms of capital T truth that we can't fully know. We can partially know, but we can't fully know. But there are some things in this realm that we can fully know, which
Right.
lands objectively, not subjectively.
Sure.
And so morality is that case. In philosophy, there are many different ways in epistemological stances in which you can come to sort of conclusions about how we know what we know. Okay. And I think in academia, philosophy can be extremely dense and fragmented. And a lot of smart people with intellect, they can be very specific and just very specific, and they can go into a lot of depth in a certain topic. So so I guess it would seem very difficult for folks to hear when you could say that morality is objective and you can know it in its totality. That's very, I think, hard for maybe academic folks to grasp because of what's in academia. But so objective morality. So yes, morality is objective and you can know it in its entirety. And so once you get to that conclusion, from there, then everything in life is filtered through that. For me, then everything in life is filtered through that filter.
Yes.
Is it moral? And with that understanding, then you can take positions in life. Then you can take really clear positions because your morality is clear, right?
Right.
And so that's one thing. Then I think, well, the other thing that was coming to my mind, then once you understand the evil in the world, not everyone is I think, overtly evil. Most people aren't overtly evil, but it might be more in the background and things that they participate in.
Sure.
And the groups they participate in are evil. And so it's a linking. So
Right.
understanding that whole sort of concept, then, so I know the totality of morality, and then I know that there's evil in the world. So these two things, that gives you the energy, gave me the energy to take the action to make things happen. That's
Right.
why I had to speak out, right? Because even though I think there's pockets on this planet where people have safety and calm and consistency, there's other pockets on this planet where people don't have that. And and so some of us, maybe that where it's things are easy, or things are more consistent, you know, well, I'm fine. I don't really, why do I have to speak out? I don't really see the evil in front of me. But realizing that we're all connected. If one suffers, we all suffer. That's the huge esoteric principle. So knowing that, knowing the evil in the world, and knowing the totality of morality, that's what gave me the energy to keep talking, because this needs to stop. We need to stop stealing from people. So it's really simple. But so let me explain objective morality. I keep talking about what it is it's don't steal people's property, right?
Right.
It's that simple. And well, then, because if you steal, then that causes suffering for the victim, what I talk about in my website, my videos, and what others who teach about natural law, this is what it is. It causes suffering for that person. You harm that person because you steal their property.
Right.
So just stop stealing their property. Just stop it. And so what's our property, right? Because that's harm. When you steal, it causes harm, a victim, and then that's what happens. So, well, one thing, my property is my life. That's my property, right? And then my property is my bodily integrity, my wholeness of my body. So that's my property. My property is my sexual choice, whatever adult I wish to sexually relate to. That's my property, is my choice. My property is my possessions, that the rightfully items that I have in my possession. That's my property. You know, are you responsible for it? Are you using it and maintaining it? I'm remembering, I think those are the three of what makes someone's property, right? The things that I have, I'm responsible for it. I peacefully acquired it. I'm responsible for it. I maintain it, and I'm using it. That's my property.
Sure.
So, and then trespass. So that would be, my property is having a peaceful domicile where, you know, people stay out, and this is my space. That's my property. Deception. So that would be, my property is having a full information to make a fully informed decision, right? And then my property is my free will choice. So that's you can't take it away from me. So I think I got them all there, but so murder, assault, and then deception, trespass, theft of possessions, coercion, and rape.
Yep.
I think those things, but yeah.
But
anyways, okay. So, but yeah, that's the process. So all those things, and usually, like I say, most people aren't doing that outrightly. We're not really doing, most people. But then the problem is, again, like I said, we participate with organizations that do that. So,
like government. Yeah.
Yes. Correct. And so if we just stop doing those things, we would literally be free on this planet.
Yeah.
All evil would end. I like to say that evil is only caused by action. If we stop taking the action, evil goes away instantly.
Right.
So, yes.
Yeah. I know I had an order to our interview questions, but in thinking about what you just shared and just participating in evil. Your business model is one of a private membership association. What drove you to that model versus like a previous sort of maybe insurance-based model?
Yeah, good question. Well, yeah, so that's why what I tell people is what I actually have done in my real life. And so
Yeah,
so that position, I can't participate with evil. That was my conviction.
right.
And it should be for everybody, I think. So
Yeah.
so then I had to live it. And so I had to figure out ways and how do you get outside if this government's all around us? This government's all around us. How do you get outside of it? How do you not participate? I think how do you stay in honor? You say, in a sense, you let them be them, but then I take the space to create something that's doesn't navigate with them. And
Yeah.
so they had this thing called the Private Membership Association. I mean, it can be called different things, but basically it's a system where you just declare that we're assembling together in the private and we're all under one common purpose. And we don't harm each other. We follow natural law, and we unite to focused on whatever we're gathering in, and we all sign a membership in that position that we're all in agreement. And then with that position, then the government can't get involved. It's just that
Love it.
simple. Yeah.
It's great.
And so and what have I understood, we're all nations. You're a nation, I'm a nation, we're all nations. And when someone comes to you, whoever it might be, it's an offer. They're going to make an offer to you, and you can accept that offer or not. And typically we're a bit more civilized. So the government's a bit more civilized on the surface, where it makes an offer in writing, right? It's still violence because the foundation of government is violence. It has to steal property from people by coercion or deception, right? It steals fully informed decisions. It steals free will at these times. So by its nature, it's violent, and it presents offer, but that offer has violence in it. Usually has something in it.
Yeah.
But the
Taxation.
reason why they're presenting that to you is because you signed a contract with them sometime before. So they have it in their mind that, well, you're still in it until you say, you can always claim your divinity back,
Yeah.
No. Now there's fancy ways of doing this. I'm just giving you the general arch of what I've done and what I've studied. So there's fancy ways of doing it, but just say, no, thank you. And you just move on. So everything's an offer. Again, the pen is mightier than the sword sometimes when it works with government, because, eventually if they don't hear you, well, then you got to use the sword. But right now we're a bit civilized right now. So the pen is mightier than the sword. But the PMA is just penning down a whole bunch of things, and you're creating the system.
Nice.
So hopefully that helps a little bit,
Yeah. I am planning a transition similar to yours, since I'm in the healthcare adjacent space as a speech therapist, and I don't want to participate any longer in the insurance system. And so,
Yes.
I love this model. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because most of us now are trained to think license and think, there should be some sort of certification, and because we want to protect people against awful practitioners and things like this. This is that energy.
Sure.
So it's hard to navigate that space, but it can be shown. If it's done correctly, it can be shown to be actually a really beneficial private way in which to do things that actually is more safe, because if everyone's under the contract of natural law, then you're not harming anyone. So
right.
But yes, anyone can do it. Anyone can set up a system. It depends on how you're navigating. If you're self-employed or you have some product or something like that, that can work really well with the PMA. But yeah, it can be done. And for me, it has been the way to go thus far. I haven't been pressed on by anyone from other jurisdictions yet. But you have to know, I have to know how to defend myself with the pen and know how to speak and stand in my power. And then, eventually it goes away is what I've heard. And so if that has to be, if the universe puts that in my path, well, then I'm ready. I mean, if not, hopefully it's not. And then I just move on and enjoy my life being left alone.
Love it. Awesome. Sorry, let me go to my questions. Oh, goodness. Yeah, so I love your lectures on natural law parenting, especially since, as I touched on in my previous podcast episode, it's been a struggle to navigate this uncharted territory of being a parent when I was never actually really parented myself. And so,
Yes.
yeah, just tell me about how you define natural law parenting, conscious parenting, and yeah, just general basic principles.
Yeah, good question. Good question. I think good parenting, good enough parenting has two strong elements in it, the emotional element and the physical element. And I'll tag on the natural law part, but in parenting, the emotional part is understanding as a parent your emotional world. And like you said, it's hard when our parents didn't pass that along to us. So that's very difficult, but it's not insurmountable. It can be accomplished. So learning, what I talk about in my presentation that I had in the talk that I did, and then what I talk with parents in the consulting room, to make it very simple, is there's 5 basic emotions, right? Happy, sad, scared, shame, and anger, right? This is what the Inside Out movie was based on. And we have to use the labeling of that. So, like in a state, I'm talking to the parent, right? What do I feel? Do I feel happy? Do I feel sad? What is it that I'm feeling? Do I feel excited? Do I feel embarrassed? Do I feel angry? Yes, you'd have to own it then. Yeah, I feel angry right now. Okay, great. Feeling angry. I'm feeling sad or lonely. I'm feeling lonely, right? This is the sadness. This is the loneliness. So now, in a simple state, you've sort of garnered up emotional intelligence for yourself as a parent, right? This is all still the parent. So,
yeah.
So now, you, as the mother, as the father, whatever it might be, the grandmother, the aunt, whatever it might be, the uncle, that you have to then say, now, how does this work in my child's mind and in their world? How are they feeling? I think they're feeling angry. In your mind, I think they're feeling angry. They might be feeling sad. They might be feeling overwhelmed. Now you've practiced labeling it in yourself. Now you're labeling it in your child. And then just simply then repeating that back. Honey, I think you're feeling really angry right now. Right? Done. Then you just stop. That's it. So that's, I could get into more detail, but that's just sort of a quick overview of the emotional aspect of it. Now we'll go to the physical, and we can talk more if you'd want. But then the physical aspect is, the environment is consistent. As I talked about, there's a rhythm in life. Things swing from one pole to the next in Hermetic philosophy. And there's a rhythm in the principle of rhythm, and the principle of polarity, and the principle of vibration. All those things play super important roles in creating the environment for yourself as the parent and for your child or children.
Mm.
Children thrive. They thrive in consistency, in structure. This is really important. Some children need it more than others. Some children need more loose, but it still needs to be a structure nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of preemptive, this is what's going to happen next. In a week, we're going here, or tonight in the morning, honey, tonight we're going to go here. So just to get ready, right? You're letting them know beforehand. This is really important. Again, life can move at us fast at times, and you may not be able to do that so quickly, but it's a goal to think about in your mind. It's you aim for that. That is going to be really helpful. That creates the physical environment. If you can, have the house organized. If you can, try to help them understand having their room and their space organized if it's possible. All those things are really helpful. And if you as a parent can't get yourself together because everything's so chaotic, well, then you got to go back to the emotional start in the part of what's going on emotionally for you, right?
Right.
I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling not supported. Or I'm feeling so excited. I whatever it might be.
Right.
And this is again, these are basic sort of universalities that can be applied. So those are the emotional and the physical. So natural law parenting, conscious parenting is what we're talking about, how I'm seeing it. Then we add in then the moral aspect. So we just got done talking about a lot of morality things just before this, right?
Right.
This is morality is the first principles first, right? It is the first things first in your life, in my life, right? First things first. As a parent, as you as a parent, first things first. Then as your children, that has to be then instilled. We are programmable species. We have to be put into, so then we develop a system in which we operate into the world, right? And so helping them understand the reality of this world.
Right.
Like laws of gravity, laws of thermodynamics. They're going to run into gravity. They're going to run into that. You have to hey, you're into this world now. Here's the rules and how it works to help you thrive, to keep you protected, and to help you not only survive but also thrive. You have to know how the world works around you, honey.
Right.
So here's how it works. And with and objective morality and natural law means of God. So they're non-man-made principles. What I talked about, the stealing, the transgressions against natural law, right?
Right.
So I'm going to segue, I'm going to go back just a little bit.
Yeah.
One can do whatever they want. You can transgress against those 7 things in natural law in which we talked about. You can do those actions, but you cannot escape the consequences of those actions.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about. So they're built in the cause and effect nature when you transgress against natural law comes back to you. That is built into this realm. That is the law of the all, God. That's the law of how this is built in. Okay. So now let's go back to helping your kids when I've talked about how it's built in, about gravity and thermodynamics. You're helping them understand how this world works.
Right.
And so then imparting and loving on them, loving and loving and loving and loving and showing them how natural law works builds that moral component. Then they have the trifecta. They have the emotional, the physical, and then the moral. They have all 3. That will help them set them up for good success. Because now they know how to work inside in their inner world. They know they know the law of correspondence in sort of their physical world. So they know how to, how the environment affects them and not. So they know that process. Then they know the moral aspect of how the world works and how internally their morality is. So they have this whole encapsulated model. That's a really good, not only model, but they have a model which they can then align their behavior towards, which will help them to be successful. So that is natural law parenting, conscious parenting, as there's other folks like Will Keller talks about this stuff. It's great. That's how I would add into that, for that
I
question.
love it. So going back to the physical,
Yes.
If you're, let's say, a parent in a co-parenting situation with different routines in one environment versus another, yeah, how do you navigate that as a co-parent when maybe there's not
Yeah.
as much structure in the other environment?
Yes. Well, at the least, you can advocate for yourself and for your child at the
Right.
least.
Sure.
So that's the position, right?
Mm.
So, well, how do you effectively advocate for this system when there's another parent who may be on a different personality system or a belief system, right?
Yeah.
I think it would be one thing to advocate successfully is balancing the divine feminine and the divine masculine when you're advocating for yourself. Moving into a state of, in a way, stating, you know, this is what is extremely, using your words, right? This is what's extremely important for this structure for the growth of our child.
Right.
I care for her deeply, and I care for him deeply. I care for him. This is extremely important for me and the successful and growth of our child and the protection of our child.
Right.
So right there, you're declaring. You've already declared. Now, I'm not talking about convincing them yet. I'm just saying you've declared what you have found to be vital. Okay.
Sure.
So there's advocacy. Okay. Now, in a sense, too, you need your co-parent. You need them in a way in which where you can collaborate. So you want their mind as well. So one way in which to bring their mind over is to say, what are your thoughts on this? Or how are you hearing what I just said? Do you think, is this possible that we could work on this together? And because it is extremely important that we work on this together. Do you think we could do that together? I need your help. Our child needs our help in this.
I'm writing this shit down.
We're still using the divine masculine. This is more divine masculine, but it's also the divine feminine because you're pulling the person in to want to receive.
Yeah.
You're penetrating and you're receiving.
Yeah.
So that's the point of it. So I need to hear your thoughts on this, right? I would like you to, I want to know what you think, as this is really important and this needs to be resolved as soon as we can get this resolved.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is advocacy work for yourself and for your child.
Right.
And you have to be solid in your footing, because if it is a contentious or quite bitter, or there's psychotic processes that are going on that makes no sense, that are overwhelming, then, you know, the advocacy, that stand your ground, but you might have to be a bit more feminine, a bit more to receive, but then you follow through with the divine masculine as well.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Being critical, meaning you attack their character, that is not going to get you very far. And when you're trying to coordinate and collaborate, attacking the character is not going to get you very far. In the research, when someone's character is attacked, you're a liar. Why are you so lazy? You're the worst, right?
I'm laughing because I've said these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll instantly throw the person in defensive mode, and you've already lost the conversation.
Sure.
It's done.
Yeah.
The conversation's over. And they're going to defend, and they're going to defend and defend. So
right.
Now, sometimes it might be true, though, that they are lying, that they are being an ass, right? You know, that they are just trying to be spiteful to hurt you, but they throw the child in the mix, which is so dark, so dark.
Right.
So again, that would have to be, you'd have to say something like, you know, that's not helping what you're doing. It's not, that action is not helping. Right. I am trying to work with you so we can get to a conclusion on this together. I'm trying to help. You know, I just need your help. I really, if you don't want to talk to me or be connected, that's fine. I'm not trying to do that. I know you love our child. I love our child as well. I'm just trying to help. I just want to work together.
Right.
I just want to work together. So energy like that, I think, can be very helpful. Okay? Right. So hopefully that can answer some of the questions. Another thing is, I've had some parents be successful in, they downloaded an app called Talking Parents. Oh. And it's a way, I'm not much for apps because they really take a lot of privacy on people. However, you probably can take some exceptions if it's absolutely necessary. I've never used the app, but it's a way in which to document what's being said, as then things can get referenced back. So it's not like a text message or email, because I think in this system, you can't go back and delete things after, you know, it keeps a good record of it. So that's something to look into. I've heard other parents have success with that. Okay. One way is emailing. You can do another, like email, and just so you have it in writing that this is what, like if there's if one side is going to go like on vacation, if they're going to go with their father and they're going to go away for a few weeks, like there's proper communication. How long are you going to be gone? When's the date you're going to return? Can we do a check-in? So everything's documented, so you have a good pace for it, which doesn't allow to all this. It can get really chaotic when people are really angry with each other and rightfully hurt and rightfully damaged. It can get quite nasty. So writing things down and having a record of them can be very organizing, right? The key thing when things get chaotic is trying to organize it back together. One more tip in helping with this: if it gets too heated and too gnarly, one might have to take a break and like, hey, and the person who sets the break is the one that has to return to start it back up again. So, you know, this conversation, we're off the target in this conversation. It got too heated. Admittedly, I got too heated. It seems like you don't want to take in anything I'm saying. Observing, you're just observing and getting it back. Right. It seems as if we're not getting anywhere. Let's take a break. I'll call you tomorrow at 10 and we can start this again. You're being an honor. You're being an honor. You're not letting them run the show. You're not letting the crazy run the show. You're not letting your crazy run the show. You're putting a pause. You're being the bigger adult in the room and pausing it, so then you can move on to the next, so then you can get to the goal. But that's why it's really important to have a goal when you talk first, because it can get so gruesome. It can get so gruesome. So having a goal and collaborating together and offering the mind and then being divine masculine to set the frame is what's going to be crucial to help that navigation piece move forward.
I love that you give very specific scripts, because that's like really helpful.
Yes, good. I'm
In
glad.
case someone's going through that,
Yes.
like me.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's very hard. It's very hard because the problem is with relationships, our parents did a shit job. One thing when Passio's work, right, and in understanding what natural law and how we've gotten to this mess, morally, our parents did a shit fucking job.
Yeah.
Second of all, emotionally and bonding, our parents did a shit job as well. Now, everybody's on a range. We've had good parents. We've had horrible, everybody's on a range, right? So
Sure.
in relationships, when we come together, our stuff isn't worked through. And we think we're going to work through it when we're with somebody, but it just ends up throwing it right in our face. It stirs up all the trauma. It stirs up all the bonded love issues that we've had. And then it just ends up being in the extreme cases, more of this like psychotic quality about it, where you're trying to rework the things with the parents you didn't have, and they become the deadbeat dad, they become the depressed mother. They become that because we're trying to shake them. Hey, be the dad or the mother or the father that I wanted you to be. You need to be that now. Because I've had enough. I've too little. I've gone through this. Now you need to be my savior in this process. It gets too crazy because you haven't gone through your own shit, done the shadow work, been in really good, find a really good therapist to go through into good therapy, right? So, and then we have kids, and then it's a mess over a mess over a mess over a mess. Now, everything can be again put back together. It's just you have to know where you're coming from, of how you got to the place, right? The cause and effect. You have to know how you've gotten there. And another thing, it's always a process. You don't really arrive at I've arrived, right? It's not that. I think there's steps in which you can take. Okay, yes, I feel good, but you're always learning more about yourself because, I mean, like I was saying, I think I said at my presentation, since in utero till now, I mean, till 7 years old, in utero to 7 years old, my parents miss me. Like some psychoanalyst, I think it was Winnicott, talked about how Donald Winnicott was a child psychoanalyst. Excellent. You can look, he's got some videos, older, he's passed now. He's, back maybe in the 40s and 50s. So anyways, but the mother misattunes to their child every 30 seconds. So again, that's why saying you got to be a good enough. He came up with that term, a good enough parent. So, I've been misattuned over and over and over and over and over again, as we all have. So it's just a process. Okay, well, that's where I'm coming from. And then the shadow work that we talk about a lot is part of that process of looking into the mirror and feeling the loss of things, and owning the loss. Oh, this reminds me of another thing. It's great in psychoanalysis. If I keep going down this rabbit trail.
Yeah, go for it.
There's two positions that Melanie Klein was another child psychoanalyst. She branched from Freud to analyze children, and a lot of my training was from her conclusions, things that she sort of put together. But she talks about two positions in our stance. I'm talking about adults now. Children, I mean, we can see how this goes, but as adults, two positions that we find ourselves in: the schizoid paranoid or the depressive position.
Whoa.
So I love these 2 points here. So the schizoid paranoid, this is where things are binary, where there's good and bad. She's the worst. She's all, she's awful. She's the worst. He never comes through. These are the binary positions that we're in. It's the schizoid paranoid. It's a schism that you can't accomplish. It's either all good or all bad. This is called the baby state of mind. As when we're little babies, things are very binary. If we speculate about the infant mind, if we can speculate on the infant mind, things are very binary. The good breast comes in to feeds me. The bad breast it's not there, it's gone, it's bad. It is my survival. If I don't get fed, I die.
Sure, yeah.
It's a survival piece, and that's the psychotic part of all of our minds. It goes to a binary state.
Right.
And there is no adult unification of both states, right? So the depressive position is coming to the understanding that things are both good and bad. In terms of relationality, right? There is, I have to deal with the reality that no, sometimes he's not there for me, but sometimes he has been there for me. She's not always a liar. Sometimes she has been truthful. I have to see her for what it is, right? And this is the occult initiation stages, right? Don't lie to yourself and live in reality. The second part, live in reality. That's a depressive position. That's the stance that adults, we need to take in the reality. This is how it's been. I never got what I needed. I can move in and get what I need. And I've got some things that I needed, but there's a position now that I have to deal with that reality.
Right.
Okay, now we move on. So now in terms of how this maybe applies to parenting children is the understanding of having them live in reality, right? That mommy and daddy or their caregivers never always going to be happy, right? There's going to be times where it's going to be difficult, but it's okay. That's sometimes life in the current state because of the actions we do. Sometimes it can be quite evil. And so that's the state and the nature of it. It just is. However, and speaking to kids, mommy and daddy, we will be able to navigate it. I'm big enough, honey, to navigate the space. I'm thinking through it, and I'll make sure as best as I can, everything's going to be okay. But yes, I can. It is tough to think about that, right? Life versus death as they figure out life versus death, and if they see you sad, they see you upset. It's okay if they're upset, but you show them that you can take the transitory energy, you can hold on to it, transmute it into something new. That's the model you're showing them. You're eating, you're metabolizing emotionality, and then you're putting it into something that helps you be successful. As a parent, this is what you have to model to them, right? So that's the depressive position.
Sure.
Right? I'm not always sad and depressed. Speaking of the clinical depression, not the Kleinian phrase depression, but I'm not always depressed. I'm not always anxious. I'm not always happy and excited and everything's all good and everything's nice in the world. I'm not always that. It is a blend of both. And this is just common sense, what I'm talking about, right? It's just you're just taking in, I'm just using fancy words, but you're just taking in the environment and observing it in the most neutral way at first. The trivium process and logic, right? The first stage of the trivium process. The grammar phase, right? You're taking in the information and you're observing it. And then in the logic phase, then you begin to process. And this is what you then, going back to what you share with your child to help them model something that would be helpful for them.
Yeah. I've been historically very focused on providing sort of extracurricular, artistic, nature-oriented outlets for my children. And then I'm like, fuck, I
Yep.
can do it too. I'm going to be self-regulating with you. So
Correct.
I'm taking drum lessons at the same time as my kid takes drum lessons because I've always
That's
wanted to learn
awesome.
drums
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. Going back to, um, let's just pretend you're working with some co-parents, one of which perhaps is aligned with natural law principles and maybe the other isn't.
Yeah.
How do you work with such a pair
Yeah.
in your work?
Yeah, good question. I think well, hold on. Go back to the drumming thing with your
Oh,
child, with your kiddo. I'm going
yeah.
to get to that, but I want to comment on that. I
Okay.
mean, that's really great. First of
Mm,
all, you're modeling something to your child that you want to have fun and you're enjoying life and you're taking
yeah.
and you're modeling creativity with them.
Mm,
And you're modeling that you're learning. You don't know it
mm,
all. You have to learn
right.
and you have to be you're receiving. So I say humility. I mean, this is what I sort of like it idea. I haven't heard someone sort of counteract me yet on it, but humility is knowing when you can speak and knowing when you need to shut the fuck up. Okay.
Mm,
When you know when you need to shut your mouth and open your ears, then you respect that person and you're letting them speak to you. So you're taking it in because you may
mm,
not know. You realize, I don't know that. I need to shut up and I need to listen because
mm,
I need to take in it. That's humility. Then the other part is when you actually know something, then that's when you speak it because you know it.
mm,
So that's part of
right.
humility. So going back to the drumming part, you're practicing humility. You're saying,
Mm,
I don't know these things. I want to learn these things and I'm going to fail. I'm going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel nervous, but it's okay. I'm big. I'm your mom. I'm big. I can metabolize this, but also I can be flexible. I can be open to new things. And I welcome that. And it's fun and it's creative. So he is going to see that with you, and that is going to imprint him so much, just
oh,
that experience. So I think that was very divine feminine for you to do that with him, to bring him
mm,
in so he can model that. So yeah, right on.
thank you. That means a lot.
Okay, good. Okay, so going back to the natural law of parenting, when their two parents are different, well, I guess I would say again to that process is really the divine masculine has to be set in that and saying, these are some things that I've come to know, and they are true. Um, I will not navigate in any spaces that's going to cause harm to me or my child. I won't
Mm,
do that. I won't navigate in those spaces.
yeah.
And um and if there's something that you want to do or are trying to do that I know is harm, well, then you're going to write it out. You're going to use your divine masculine. You're going to keep it in a written document and in an email
Mm,
or talking parents or whatever you guys want to do,
right.
or whatever they want to do, and just say, this is true, and this is what I've come to know. And if you do anything against that, that will make me extremely angry towards you and lose a tremendous, tremendous amount of respect for you.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because, okay, go ahead.
And
Mm,
our child still needs you because you're his father. And there are parts that I'm saying I do respect you, but if you continue in this path, my heart will be calcified towards you in any way, because I know this not to be good. This is harmful or whatever it might be because of these things. And this and what I'm telling you, co-parent, what I'm telling you, this is common sense. I'm not teaching my child to steal or harm or be a part of agendas that steal. I'm not doing that. It's common sense.
Right.
And
Right.
if you're honest with yourself, you know that as well. It's common
Sure.
sense. I still want to work with you, but in moving in that direction, it is going to really enrage me and calcify my heart towards you. I do hope that we can work it out. I do hope that we can connect, because I want that, because I love my child and I know you love our child. I know you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I want your mind, but I cannot do that. And if you do something that breaks that and don't tell me, you're going to have to live with those consequences, because this is a spiritual issue. This is above me and bigger than me. And you know, if that does happen, may natural law be at your back, because this is something that I cannot participate in.
Love it. Thank you for that very specific
Yes.
scripts, in case I may be dealing with something like that.
Yeah. And it's very tough. And but again, the overall arching is what I want to keep is instilling is you have to know good philosophy, morality. That's important. Right. So that gives you your footing. That gives you your roots into the fucking center of the earth. That roots you. Then you can navigate in a space of then literally speaking love that goes beyond this realm and navigates to that individual's soul. It tags his soul, and he has to deal with that on the other side. And hopefully natural law will come consequentially to him or her, will come if they are transgressing against natural law. Hopefully it'll come into this lifetime so they can feel and correct, right?
Right.
But you're moving into a spiritual realm when you do that. But you just have to make sure your philosophy is rooted in morality, right? And then you can proceed.
So we touched on it already a bit, but how would you define what shadow work is? And yeah,
good question again. We touched on that a lot. Shadow work, I think it has some various ideas on how to accomplish it. One major way is looking into the mirror and just going at it and sitting. I think two things it requires is silence with yourself and then honesty with yourself. Those two pieces. I think those are the main properties of it. There might be some other people that might give more information. I know Mark Passio might be coming out with something in that area, which would be fascinating to hear his mind and his research on that. What you have to come in contact with the baby you. You have to come in contact with the little you.
Dude, yes.
And I think one piece also, I think in good in-depth therapy, even in psychoanalysis, if one undergoes psychoanalysis, it's you're being in the process of your own inner world with someone else who is kind and ready to help you. It takes a while to get there, but if you can have that experience where someone hears the most raw parts of you, the most psychotic parts of you, the most embarrassing parts of you, they're able to metabolize it, take it in, and help you reorganize it. That's, I would say, is a really good shadow work event, right? I think mirror work, it can be done in mirror work. You'd have to be a very, I would say, a ritualistic process where you sit in front of the mirror, you do this, you know, on a schedule on the regular, and you really work with yourself and you ask yourself hard questions, and you have to feel. So if you haven't cried in a while, you're going to have to cry. If you feel embarrassed to cry, you're going to have to feel embarrassed to cry. If you feel really angry and rageful, you might, you know, have to feel it and then sort of calm it down a little bit and then work at it the next day. It's coming to know you without any excuses, but then also trying to reintegrate the pain that was caused by you, right? So that's what I would say shadow work would be. It would, again, you can do it in various ways, which is fine. The key is you have to be honest with yourself. You have to stop lying. And why did you come to be that way, right? Why are things so chaotic in your life? Well, yeah, this is another piece that came to my mind. Well, it's so chaotic because, well, I was abused when I was little many times, and I can't overcome it. Okay, great. Now, awful, but we're getting somewhere. Now the state is, well, that's when I was little. Am I a victim today? Is someone abusing me now? Well, no, I have an adult body. I'm big now. I can say no. I can use my muscles. I can push back. You know, I can do things now. So I'm not being victimized today. And then moving into a state of, okay, now how do I work through that? Am I letting that past because I like it? This is a whole nother thing in psychoanalysis. I'm letting that past come into my presence, my present and into my presence because I like it for some reason, right? This is a whole thing where when we're little, we get imprinted on what love is. Love means abuse. I cannot lose my caregiver, my mom, my dad, grandpa, grandma, aunt. I can't lose them. Even though they're abusing me, I cannot lose them. So this is what love must be. So as I become an adult, I need love. I need to be loved. Well, I know what love is. That's what love is. So I'm going to keep recreating it over and over because this is what I like.
Right.
This is what I do. So now the adult mind comes in the mirror work or in treatment, psychoanalysis, deep therapy work. This is where it comes in. The adult comes in and says, that's not serving you anymore. It's not working. It did work in the past because you had to survive, but it's not working anymore now, right? So now what are you going to do? Do you want this to stop or not? Do I want this to stop or not? Do I want it to stop or not? What do I need to do? Or why is my bond with love not working? What's going on? What's with my identity and love? Well, why do those two things not working? What's happening here? And then sitting with the silence, right? So that's some, I think I gave an overview of maybe my idea of what shadow work is and how I would approach it and how I would give it an overview, and then the specifics on how to navigate that space, coming from this idea that we all are on a range of parenting, right? We all get a range of parenting, even again to the worst or to even the best. You know, it just depends, and so we have to navigate that space. But the key is, I think overall, the whole thing is, how do we prevent evil from happening in this world? And it is our jobs as a species. That's our job, and what we know is the species that we can see on this planet. Us, you know, we're capable of understanding natural law, like what we talked about. We have holistic intelligence. We have the ability to know what is a wrong action versus what is a right action. We have that ability. Therefore, now we are responsible. So if something is going awry, then it is our job to take care of that and shut that down.
Right.
So, and what gets in the way of that is our own trauma from when we were younger. And so that has to be worked through so you can step into your real responsibility of stopping evil on this planet. That's the real responsibility of our species in this, I think, in this era that we're in.
I love that tie-in. Yeah. I feel like I am finally in my own journey able to do this work because of, yeah, the shadow work that I've done in previous eras of my existence. So, yeah.
Correct.
Mm.
Yes. I think that's a big piece. That's huge. I like what you said. It's, yeah, to get to this position, I've had to really come to own who I am and really love who I am. Also, since we're relational, I've had really wonderful people, my family, of course, but also really wonderful friends and girlfriends that have loved on me that I've never been loved before. So that helped build me up as well. You can do it for yourself, but if you get good, loving, powerful people in your life that really truly speak into your life, it's like Miracle Grow. It can really help move you forward more. So I think it's a yes. So our shadow work involves, right, what you said, taking responsibility, doing the hard work, putting in the time, and then getting good people around us that can love on us, right? And then after we know that, then we understand what morality is. Then we understand how evil gets created, right? When we steal from people, right? And then we have to teach others so they don't do that. So the stealing stops. The stealing of property stops. It's not that hard, but it seems like I taught in my my videos, we learned it in kindergarten.
You're
I said
right.
this, don't take from people, don't do something they don't want to do. But
Right.
and most of us, we try to live by that in some regard, but we've been so under mind control that we think a government exists. It's really just a figment of our imagination. We just give it power. Power is not taken, it's given. We give our power
Right.
away. It's not taken from us. We allow it
Sure.
to be taken away. And
Right.
even if they come and put a gun to our bodies and blow, it's still, they can't take it away from us. They can take our body, but they can never take the impetus of our spirit. They can't take that away ever.
Right.
So never, ever, ever, ever give up your power, because you're a divine being. You're your own divine nation. They have to come only through acceptance right now in the civilized world thus far, at least here in the Western world. They have to come by an offer. They offer you, then you give it up. So just never give it away. Never give your power. And if they do want to, then say, okay, well, here's my counter offer. We work it out together. If you really want to work something out with them. So yeah, I went off on a trail, but anyways, that's the answer to your question. Whatever your question was, I forgot.
I found that in my own shadow work, I struggled to be honest with myself because
Yeah.
I was really good at lying
Yes.
to myself. And segueing into the next question, I feel like plant medicine really helped me in becoming honest with myself chemically.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that? And yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's great. It's a great question. Well, we're of nature. We're of God. Our species is tied into everything, just like the plants are tied into everything, just like the animals are tied into everything. We're all tied in together. So, everything has its wisdom. It has its knowledge. It has its action. Everything has an action. And so nature gave us plants to give our sustenance, our health, get the sunlight, right? The plants take in the sunlight, take in the water, sun, and the plant. So obviously they're here for us to help us keep being sustained on this planet. And then there's some plants that have these wonderful spirits in them, these guides in them that help us. It's great.
Yeah.
And they're attuned in such a way that they can help with our process of calcification in our narcissistic woundedness. Some would say the ego, gets the ego out of the way. Well, in more probably a sophisticated way of saying it, it's narcissistic wounds. We need the ego because that's our sense of self. It's our strength. The ego develops as we begin to love ourselves and we get to grow and we get to have an adult mind of understanding what's good for us, what's not good for us, understanding what's good for others, what's not good for others, morality. That's the ego. It's a healthy sense of ego, a healthy sense of self. Now, what we're talking about is getting the damaged parts of us that's calcified, the narcissistic woundedness that gets damaged. That gets in the way. That is the unloved parts of us. And that is the parts of us that we're not saying, why are you doing that? That's not good for you. That's love. Stop doing it. Or never being validated. These are the narcissistic wounds that we have gotten. So that becomes quite calcified in our psychology. Plant-based medicine can begin to send love towards those narcissistic wounds. And that love begins to heal it. It gives us a glimpse of what we need. And it could be a divine feminine of just filling us with love through our whole body, our whole nervous system, just filling us with love so it softens us. It could be divine masculine, which is very sharp and very difficult for us to hear. But the plant-based medicine is not concerned about, niceties. It will, our typical convention of social norms, it doesn't work in that realm. It's going to tell you, it's going to give you a divine masculine and divine feminine of what you need. And so the divine masculine sometimes can be so strong, it can psychotically break people for a while. They have to go into that state, but it's necessary. It doesn't care. They don't, the spirit guides, well, they do care, but they don't care about that. They do care. And they do have true care, but they don't care about that process of your mind. If you're embarrassed for a while, you got to stop work for a while, well, then so be it. You took them and you asked them to commune with you, then you bear the responsibility of it. And whatever comes on the other side comes on that's your burden to bear. No one put those, hopefully no one put those medicines in your body. You decided in your free will to do so. They accept that challenge, and then they'll give you what you want. They'll give you what you need to hear, what you actually, not what you, I'm sorry. They'll give you what you need is what I meant to say. They'll give you what you need. And so then it's your responsibility to take that on. Now, it would be best if you move into that state and commune with them and enjoy their presence, is to have a clean, I would say, moral mind, to make sure that you're on the trajectory of living a moral life is one thing. So following natural law, and then so following natural law literally again means the 7 transgressions. You're not doing those 7 transgressions, and you're trying not to participate in organizations that do those. Okay, that's following natural law. You're doing what you're not. It's the way to understand natural law is the apophatic way, the reverse way of what it is not. So yes, so you're not transgressing against it. So your mind and your heart is clean. That's what's really important. And then your belly is clean. And what I mean by that is you don't have any murdered animal parts and animal secretions in your belly.
Yeah.
Because animals are not food. Yeesh.
Yeah.
So if you have a clean belly, a clean heart, and a clean mind, and you're working towards that, I think that's what's going to be important. If you have a lot of heavy trauma, it might be best to do a bit of shadow work on yourself, because if you go commune with them, they don't really care about niceties or convention.
Yeah.
They're just going to be divine masculine or divine feminine. So you just got to be ready for it.
Sure. Yeah, I think I was called at the right time in my own journey. One thing that you said about making sure that you're not eating animals, basically. I've never done ayahuasca, but one of my friends who eats meat sometimes, she prepared for her ayahuasca ceremony by not eating meat for 6 months. And then
Okay, good.
when she finally had the ayahuasca experience, she saw like all the animals that she had ever eaten in her life just erupt out of her mouth first before the lessons came in. And it was like, I feel like that's so true. Like, just, yeah, making sure natural law morality is followed to get the lessons.
Yeah, 100%. That's an amazing story, and it corroborates what I'm saying. It falls in line with that. I wanted to say a thing. Now, in this interview, we're going on natural law and morality. This morality can be a very loaded word for people because of the religious context.
Sure.
Because of I'm better than you. It's quite unfortunate, because that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
We're literally talking about the golden rule. If you don't want something done to you, don't do someone else. It's really simple. We're not being haughty or anything like that. It's just decent common sense, right?
Yeah.
That's all what we're saying. So we're not better. We're just, in a sense, our character is we're not trying to be lofty or something to that nature.
Right.
It does, though. It does take willpower and action. That's what is the energy spent, that the energy that I spend. I don't eat animal parts or animal secretions. That's fucking hard work. That's hard work.
In this culture, yeah.
Yes, especially here in Southern California. I mean, sorry, what I meant to say, it's easier in Southern California because there's a lot of vegan restaurants and stuff like that, but a lot of them have been closing down recently. But it's hard work. Of course, it's that food's easy. Of course, that's easy. Of course, now when I go to parties or when I go to other people's house, I can't eat what they eat, and then I gotta say, well, why are you? Because I'm vegan, and like, and then so it's just the whole, like, it's hard work, and then if family members, like, and trying to talk, because that's what they fed you, then it feels like, it's just it feels as if you're being snooty or toady, but you're not doing that. You're just saying it's a moral thing. It's a moral thing. And then when you say that, like, well, you're more good to them. Yeah. No, just, you got to do your shadow work to work on what this is about. And that living according to natural law it takes willpower. It takes focus, but it's very rewarding, but it doesn't come easy. So living in parallel with it's not a fast thing. It's not easy, but I think that's one of the truest things of actually saying you're living according to natural law is not consuming not products, but I don't like saying products because animals aren't a product.
Right.
Animal
They're
body parts.
sentient beings. Yeah.
Yes, animal body parts are animal secretions. I don't do that. So that's really hard. It's hard work doing that, but that's one way in which you honor God. I think is doing your actions that way. And imagine that might be pretty hard for people here, but it is what it is. So
yeah. I definitely feel you on the like social awkwardness.
Yes.
But I try to just be matter of fact about it. This is what I'm doing and now. And feel free to ask me questions if you're interested, but that's what I'm doing right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And most people
I try not to be militant about it, but because they're not going to hear it anyways. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. That's not the idea. Correct. Yeah. You're just saying this is what I do morally. And we don't have the right to do that. It is what it is. We just don't have the right. And that's it. I'm not going into it because most people would want to go into the physiological argument about, well, it's healthier in animals and that stuff. But again, I bypass that and just say it's not about that. It's a moral issue. It's not about physical. And even there's a lot of tremendous good studies on eating sunlight from plants. The light, the sun energy that's in the water of a plant is extremely nutritional. So, so there's all kinds of good research on that side. But anyways, yes, I just say it's immoral. We don't have the right. That's what I do. And I try to smile and, and then it is what it is.
So it looks like we're about to wrap up. Is there anything that maybe you wanted to touch on that we didn't get to talk about today?
I think one thing with the parenting is, again, I just want to emphasize you have to be good enough. A good enough parent. You don't have to be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. So I want to add that in there. And I think in all our journeys, we're all on this planet together. We're moving forward. If we choose to move forward, then we're moving forward, right? But it's that choice. The choice is not because I'm special or anyone else is special. It's just because you make the choice to move forward. And I found it to be the most, to moving forward and living according to natural law and understanding it and teaching it, right? So I found that to be the most holistic, integrated position I've ever been in. So it speaks volumes to me in my life and how I stand in this world because I know I stand in the truth, capital T truth, objective morality. That's what I'm talking about. There's a lot of truths on any other things, and I don't know if I can't say I know the totality of all those, but at least in morality, we can be very clear on that. And so once one gets in that position, you are in the hand of God. I know that's a very spiritual thing to say, but I mean religious. I'm not meaning it religiously. In the all, you are in the all's hand, and then you move forward. Then you move forward and you do what needs to be done. So
that's great. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. It was a great interview. Good questions. It was a good time. Yay. Okay. Well, I'll see you in class too, but I'll talk to you later.
All right. Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Hang on it.
I think it's